What's going on, guys? Riley here. Today I'm going to be answering the most asked question I have received since I bought the Camaro, and that is, hey Riley, what's better? The 2016 Scat Pack that you previously owned or your brand new 2017 Camaro SS 1LE? So as I follow this dump truck on this back road, I feel like I should let you guys know that everybody has a different version of better, whether it comes to cars, women, sports teams, states, whatever. So when it comes down to it, having your own opinion about something is great. I mean, if everybody thought the exact same thing was fantastic, everybody would be driving around in that exact same thing, and then it would be pretty boring. So the fact that everybody can have their own, individual beliefs, that's cool. All right, so generally people would not compare a track-focused Camaro to a Scat Pack Charger. I mean, they're kind of polar opposites. Yeah, they're pretty close in terms of power, they're close in terms of price, which is why everybody compares them, but really when you look at like what the cars were meant to do, they're kind of total opposites. So with that being said, the most important thing to note here is that the Scat Pack was ultimately the much better daily driver car. That car, to me, I still believe this to this date, and I'll probably believe it for a very long time, that is the best daily driver car you can buy for under $50,000. The fact that that car has, so much power, the good looks, the plenty of room, decent fuel economy, I mean, like everything about that car, it does well. There are some things that it doesn't do great, like, handling on a road course, for example, and there's other cars such as this one that kind of fill in that gap, but that one can pretty much do everything and do it well. Now, when you look at something such as this, like a track-focused Camaro, yeah, this thing's really good on track and stuff, but, most people probably wouldn't want to daily drive this car. So by no means am I saying that I regret buying this car or anything along those lines. I'm just saying that, the general statement here is that the Scat Pack was a much better daily driver. However, this car, much more fun. Just within the first 1,500 miles of owning this car, I have been able to do things that I've never really been able to do before in a car, and do them so easily. Like this corner, for example, it's so effortless. Everything that this car does, it's so just smooth about it. It's so balanced. And really that's what I look for in a car, is the balance of that car, the fun to drive factor. If I can get in a car and it makes me smile from ear to ear the whole time while driving it, that is the car that, like, in my opinion, is like, okay, I need to buy that one. And that's exactly what this car has done for me. See, I mean, watch this, for example. There's just something about that gets your blood flowing in a different way than like 90% of other cars out there. Sure, this car is not the fastest thing in a straight line and out on the road. I mean, I've driven much faster cars than this, and I'm fully aware of that. It's not the fastest car in the world. However, the way this car delivers the power, it's so much fun. This is the most fun car I think I've ever driven. Now, sure, this car is probably not the best daily driver, and I'll make a separate video on why it's not. Probably one of those, 8 things I hate about my Camaro video, and then I'll do like an 8 things I love about my Camaro video. Something like that. Like a quick explanation of like why this car wouldn't be so great, which, I'll go into all these in more detail, but obviously like the visibility is not the best. The doors are extremely long, so getting in and out of this car, if you're parked directly next to somebody, can be just a complete magical act. It's impossible sometimes. In the event that I do have to park next to somebody, I feel like an old man trying to get in and out of my car. I'm like, my back, and like trying to squeeze in. Like, I hate it. So for most people alone, that right there would be enough of a reason not to daily drive this car, especially if you're somebody who's older and you're like, I can't do that. If you've ever sat in some kind of like Lamborghini or McLaren or something, and you know how like difficult it is to like fall down in the seat, and then you sit there and you're like, and you're stuck in the car. That's how this car is. I mean, part of that's probably because of the Recaros. The other part of that's because of the door. I'll go into it in more detail later. I really don't have anything like extremely negative to say about the car as to why it wouldn't be, a better car. But like I said, going back to kind of the original point of this video is, what's a better car? Well, this is a much better driver's car. You have more fun in this car. The Scat Pack probably attracted more looks and got more attention.
I like your car color.
Thank you. I think a lot of that was mainly due to the fact it was purple. I think if I owned like a white or black Scat Pack, I wouldn't get near as many looks. However, the car would still be just as great. This car still attracts quite a bit of attention, and people that know what it is, they're like, oh dude, that's the new 1LE, that's awesome. So it's one of those things, kind of like, if you know, you know. You see what I did there with the Dodge Demon reference? Haha. Oh, you guys. Oh, it's so freaking good. Like, this car is just so smooth with the way it drives. And like, yeah, you know, it's aggressive at the same time. It's not like Hellcat aggressive where it kind of like makes you pee yourself a little bit, but it's just such a good balance. When you're driving this car, all of the paper 0 to 60 and quarter mile and all those times, they go completely out the window. Like, you know, it's a very capable car, and that's really all that matters. But when you're in the moment just driving this car, you're just enjoying it for what it is and having the time of your life. It really is an extremely fun car to drive. I won't lie, I think the Scat Pack's exhaust was a lot better than this one, stock for stock. The Scat Pack just had a really good sounding exhaust. Like, I loved that sound. However, I think once I'm done with this exhaust, it will sound better once I start, you know, doing modifications to the car. But in a stock comparison test, I would hands down say the Scat Pack sounds much better. That's not to say this car sounds bad. I still love the way this car sounds, and it's actually a lot louder than most people would think for being a bone stock exhaust, and videos don't really do it very much justice. The Scat Pack's automatic transmission is definitely much better than the automatic transmission in the Camaros, so not something that applies to the 1LE, but it does apply to, you know, the 6th gen Camaro. The ZF 8-speed, I've said it countless times before and I'll say it again, that is the best transmission that is available in like attainable cars. Yeah, some may argue that the PDK Porsche automatic transmission is the best one, and I would agree with that. That is a really good transmission. However, those are Porsches, and they're, you know, not something that everybody can, you know, regularly afford. The 8-speed in this car is pretty good too, but it's just, it's not the same. But for all my manual lovers out there, this is the best manual transmission car I've ever driven in my life. The clutch feel, the way the gears are laid out, like everything about this transmission is absolutely perfect. Now, I believe this transmission's a Tremec. I don't know the model number, but I believe that this exact transmission, if not a very close, you know, brother of this transmission, was featured in the GT500 Mustang from like the 2014 year model. So we know the transmission's built to handle a lot of power. However, it's still so smooth and just buttery, like it's just such a great transmission. So that right there is a pretty good summary of how this car kind of compares to the Scat Pack, and I probably got off topic quite a bit. But if you're wanting a 4-door daily driver that has plenty of power, plenty of room, good looks, etc., buy the Scat Pack. You can't go wrong. If you're wanting a 2-door car that's smaller, more agile, more fun to drive, this is the car to buy. Sorry Mustangs, sorry Challengers, this car is fantastic. So I'm gonna own the car for a little bit longer, and then I'll come out with my full detailed review. However, so far, let's see, 1,600 miles into ownership, and I have been having the time of my life. It has been fantastic so far, not a single problem to report. Hopefully I never will have to report any problems, but you never know. But there you have it, guys. The comparison of the Scat Pack and the Camaro 1LE. Kind of two cars that are very hard to compare. Oh yeah, the brakes work. They're kind of two cars that are very hard to compare, but people are still going to do it. And even I'm guilty of doing it just because it was the car I owned before this. So naturally, I'm going to compare them. So guys, with all of that being said, I want to thank y'all for watching this video. I will see you on the next one. Take it easy. All right, so for everybody who keeps asking, what are these paddles here for? They are a button to turn the active rev match on and off. So please, if you see somebody in the comments saying, that's an automatic, it has paddle shifters, please tell them that it's not an automatic and it has the paddle shifters here as a button. The reason that GM does that is because in order to take these out, they would have to change the whole steering column. So GM was like, well, instead of spending a bunch of money on making a separate steering column, let's just make the paddles a button where you can turn active rev match on and off. And if you don't know what active rev match is, it's when you're like, let's say I'm in 4th gear and I drop it down to 3rd, it'll automatically blip the revs and have them ready for me to put it in 3rd gear instead of me having to do that myself. So it's a nice little feature if you're gonna daily drive the car or if you're gonna track it and you're not the best at like heel toe downshifting or stuff like that. But please, for the love of God, quit asking me why there's paddle shifters on my manual transmission car. I didn't design it, but I can see why they did.